I have the great honor of presenting a recipient of the Companion Award of the Center for Christian Studies, Miriam Therese Winter. And I ask you please just to come forward and take a seat to my right. I want to thank you for coming to Winnipeg and bringing spring with you. The Companion Award was created to honor one or more persons at the annual service of celebration. We've actually awarded Marion Logan in Cambridge last month, and Jessie McLeod will be awarded in Tatamagouche next month, and we are graced to have Miriam Therese Winter with us today. Over the years, we've made companions of our graduates whose life and ministry has brought distinction and honor to the school, or friends from the CCS community who have made a significant contribution to the work of our school. In the case of Miriam Therese Winter, I understand she's known to friends and colleagues as MT. She was nominated to become a companion because her life and work epitomizes the ideals of the Center for Christian Studies. So I just want to say briefly what some of those ideals are. Our mission statement says that we are here to educate women and men for ministry that will transform the church and the world toward wholeness, justice, and compassion. Our educational approach seeks to lead others to personal and social transformation, to foster lifelong learning, to value diversity, to integrate heart, soul, and mind. Our motto says that we aim to live a theology of justice. MT's nominators saw her life and ministries as an illumination of these ideals. Miriam Therese Winter is currently on the faculty of Hartford Seminary in Connecticut, a professor of liturgy, worship, spirituality, and feminist studies. She joined the Medical Mission Sisters in Philadelphia in 1955, a young woman fresh out of high school, dreaming of becoming a doctor who would practice in Africa. Her sense of vocation to that life was inspired by the founder of the community, who 20 years earlier felt called to start an order of medical teachers and professionals to work among Muslim women in India, whose culture disallowed them from being treated by male physicians. MT soon found, however, that her vocation was to become a different kind of healer, a healer of soul and spirit rather than body alone, using words, music, and story rather than scalpel or medicine. She joined her order when Roman Catholic nuns still wore habits on the eve of the great shakeup of the Second Vatican Council. She composed music that would enhance this new form of worship. And when her song and album, Joy is Like the Rain, was recorded and released in 1966, she was rocketed into fame as a singer and songwriter. 5 hymns of Miriam Therese Winter's are found in Voices United, and we will be singing one of them after this citation. One of the graduates of the United Church Training School writes that when I went to work in 1965, Joy is Like the Rain was just coming along. It became such a popular piece. I found such comfort in that hymn. We forget now that it was a revolution. There was no music like it. Folk songs, yes, but songs, hymns that touched our experience, we just didn't have them. I remember one woman who told me that someone in her family had died. She said, I just sang that hymn over and over with tears going down my cheeks. Those of you who heard the story of the song, the writing of that song last night, will have an understanding of why the words are so evocative. Another diaconal minister who attended Covenant College from 1968 to 1970, Diane Trollope, talked about the great innovation of sitting in circle for some classes. Folk worship was another circle experience that enlivened a sense of community. Everyone was singing the Medical Mission Sisters, she recalled, with a guitar in a circle imagine. It was really important to my classmates and to me. It was part of changing who we are. Miriam Therese Winter went on to study music and liturgy, earning a Bachelor of Music from Catholic University in Washington, D.C. in 1964, a Master's in Religious Education from McMaster University, Hamilton in 1976, and a PhD in liturgical studies from Princeton Theological Seminary in 1983. The focus of her studies in the 1980s was feminist biblical scholarship and liturgy. Her trilogy of books, Woman Wisdom, Woman Witness, and Woman Word, featured all the women of the Bible, with over 160 identified. One of her recent publications, Eucharist with a small e, is on the CCS curriculum, a proclamation that all of life is a sacrament. Her work shows a deep understanding of what engages human beings in worship, in awareness of the divine, in oneself and one another. Miriam Therese Winter has been called a metaphorical theologian. Her writings are simple, profound, evocative, imaginative, and accessible. More recently, she has written about quantum spirituality, a reflection on her quest for ever new and more authentic ways of living faithfully in an evolving universe. MT is a musician, a liturgist, and a feminist scholar. She is also an activist and a global citizen. She has been a strong yet lyrical voice for an emerging feminist spirituality and for the full liberation of women, which she considers essential to ensuring the well-being of the planet and a necessary first step toward the liberation of all people. Time spent in refugee camps on the Thai-Cambodian border and in a camp in Ethiopia for children dying from starvation has strengthened her commitment to what she calls theological re-education. Her ministry today includes spending time with women at the state prison in Connecticut, in programs that benefit disadvantaged children, and supporting a nursing home chaplaincy program. It is a truly diaconal ministry. But there is another line of values I would also like to mention. M.T. Winter was shaped by her community. She learned in community, was stretched in community, remained faithful to her community, even when her vocation and theirs changed radically. Learning in sacred community is a deeply held value of the Center for Christian Studies. M.T. grew in her faith and worldview. Joy is Like the Rain is a wonderful piece of music. It is simple and young and innocent. It feels as if it is not only we, but our world that has aged since the days in which it was written. Our theology and our music had to grow, and M.T.'s did too. Her commitment to justice flowed out of the charism or gift of healing that she learned in community. She has lived a theology of justice as a mender of the world, a healer of our streets. M.T.'s music had backbone to it, in spite of its easy melodies and gentle poetry. It provided a different view of God and the world than found in Onward Christian Soldiers or Praise My Soul, the King of Heaven. CCS started to grow into a more radical theology of justice in the early 1970s, and M.T.'s music nurtured that growth. I am struck by how much M.T.'s God-centered, Christ-centered, Spirit-filled music remains faithful to her tradition of faith, and yet how much her circle of understanding has grown larger and wider and more capable of holding increasing complexity and diversity. This is the value we call transformation, a commitment that holds us to the center of our faith and that allows the form of it to change and develop. If one is too brittle, the risk is to lose heart, to lose faith with an arrested intellect, a heart of stone. Sister Miriam Therese Winter showed and shows women and men of faith how to stay in and stay on, how to become mature and courageous agents of transformation. One of the most difficult things in preparing this citation was deciding what to leave in and what to leave out, and how to stop. I hope you get a picture of this remarkable woman, of her influence on CCS students, of the example she holds up of what we would like to become. Miriam Therese Winter, you are indeed one who breaks bread with us in your journey, your courage, and your transformative destination. We are so pleased to welcome you among us as a companion of the Center for Christian Studies.
Miriam, I'm going to present to you this pin which represents the role of companion with the center. I just want to say a word about it. It's in the shape of a circle or a spiral and a spiral, which are two symbols well connected to the life of the center. It says on it, companion, and then it has 5 human figures, an amazing amount on one little pin. But these figures have their hands raised, and in your case, they're singing.
What I just experienced usually happens at one's wake. How incredible that I could actually be alive to hear some of that. Most of which probably is just in the realm of mythology, but thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your exaggeration. I'm deeply moved. I really am. A couple of months ago, I got this letter, and it said, "You have been nominated for the award Companion of the Center, CENTRE." And I'm thinking, huh? Read more. And it's in Manitoba. I said, Manitoba? I looked out the window. The snow was like 2.5 feet high. The wind was howling. I said, why not the Cayman Islands? Manitoba, what is this? It just seemed so literally out of nowhere, which is mostly how my life has evolved from beginning to end. Everything I ended up doing came from somewhere else, which I have learned early on is from the Spirit of the living God pressing in on me just when I thought I had too much to do, unfinished business, get something done, and lay low for a while. Something comes in from literally left field. So I went to the internet to find out what center this was, okay? And what struck me was a date. 1892, okay, the foundation of this, I thought, 1892, and the fact that there was a focal point of providing educational and justice opportunities and ministerial opportunities for women, the whole deaconess history. I'm reading all of this, and I'm thinking, Hartford Seminary in 1892 graduated the first women formally admitted to theological education. We were the first ones to admit women to formal theological education, not necessarily that we would ordain them, the seminary would ordain, but to that education on an equal basis in 1892. And there I was working with women, trying to help them to do exactly what your website was describing you are doing. Not only that, the founder of my community, Anna Dengel, was born in 1892, okay? And I said, there's something here. I often need a little bit more of the Holy Spirit signs, to actually make my move. And Anna Dengel, let me just alter that history a little bit. We were the first in Roman Catholic tradition to initiate a community that would provide professional medical care, doctors, surgeons, nurses, training schools for women in the areas of India who could not see, mostly Muslim women, Hindu women, who could not be seen by male doctors and were therefore seriously disadvantaged. Children had needs. And it was, the Protestants were all doing it, but within the Catholic tradition, we just didn't have adequate hospitals. Canon law forbid it, so she did it anyway, which I love, that part of our history. And canon law changed, and that's when we got recognized, changed in 1936. And so by the time we got settled and were able to make public vows in 1941, that was the 20 or so difference before when I entered, determined to go to Africa and be a doctor, a real doctor, and my path was altered by the Holy Spirit, thanks be to God, because this moment with you is deeply moving because I feel such an affinity, more than you realize, that somehow, somewhere, in some way, long ago and far away on some planet, somewhere, or out in that there are energies that have visited all of us and are weaving us together in ways that are helping to prepare the path into the future in a more united and intentional way. I am so grateful to know who you are. And I would like to just make a few comments because looking at your literature, you have some C's in that, You're the Center for Christian Studies. You have 2 C's, and I'm saying C's, yeah, CC, carbon copies and all that stuff. CC, or like in our Latin American population, CC, yes, do what the Spirit says. But I saw 3 C's. I have 3 C's. I am a companion to the Center, for Christian Studies. I'm a CCC. And what is really incredible about that, the 3 C's have been for the last maybe a decade or less, the shorthand I use for trying to introduce quickly a group into quantum spirituality and the change in everything theologically, okay? I have 3 C's, and I'm going to hook that, what I have, onto your 3 C's, okay? And leave you with that, okay? The first C is the word chaos. Part of what our struggle is mutually is we are living within an ordered structures that are growing increasingly out of date. But what we do within those structures is the dynamic transformational process that will eventually transform the structure, but we never gave our lives to transform structures. We want to go out and transform the world. So we have to make that delicate balance of how to do what is not yet quite appreciated or understood fully, but is desperately needed. Okay, so chaos, as the world sees it, is a negative. But what we need to proclaim, it is a positive. And in a few weeks, we are going to celebrate the Feast of the Chaotic Holy Spirit. Pentecost is a feast of chaos, okay? They were terrified because everything had fallen apart. Everything was different. And when they finally had heard this incredible chaotic sound or something moved within them, they ran out. And guess what? Chaotically proclaimed something, not fires on their heads, and they weren't all bearded heads either, okay? There were long flowing hair. There was the old and the young, as you know, and the maidservant, the rich and the poor, and the simple and the outcast, and the bigwigs, but there were also many people, foreigners, and if it had been, if the Muslim religion had been there would have been Muslims, because there were Arabs and there were Greeks and there were Parthians and Medes, and there were everybody, felt something, the power of the Spirit. And for a moment, all was one. All these social and cultural and sociological strata was one, okay? What I want to say is we sang last night, Joys Like the Rain, and all I could think to myself was, oh my God, that was so simple and naive, but that was a moment of chaos in my tradition. I was banned in Scranton. I was banned in Dunedin. I was banned in a lot of places. The music was forbidden, okay? This was horrible, playing a guitar, oh my God, never mind, that the original instrument was a stringed instrument with the song, But what happened was it didn't make it into formal Catholicism's liturgy, but all the Protestants took it. Thank you. I give you my vote. I am where I am, who I am because of you, You just went singing those songs, and to have it come back to me in the sense of I was transformed into something with that, okay? So chaos is a good thing. It creates, when you learn in chaos theory, the order of process is inherently within. It is organic. We will order. The Spirit of the living God in us will order things the way it needs to be as it unfolds in our lives and ministries. Number one, chaos. Good thing. Second, consciousness. Consciousness can create reality. And if we consciously live out of a perspective or a vision of a new world in which all can be one, and yet we can all be diverse, distinct, committed, and different, and yet on the deepest level we are one, then that consciousness can make this happen. It's like the Buddhist mindfulness. We need to be aware of the potential, and we cannot put ourselves at the top of the consciousness chain and say, we are the only ones who are conscious. In the middle of the night, a cat jumped on my bed. A big cat. I'm staying with someone, a dear woman, who has a big cat. Has a big cat. And I screamed, and I looked, the light was coming out. I said, oh, what are you doing in my bed? And the cat looked at me and said, what are you doing in my bed? And we outstared each other, and I thought, what makes me think I know more than that cat? Okay? The Native Americans, the Aborigine people, the indigenous people know that consciousness is pervasive in all life in different levels. So our oneness with all of life has to move beyond the anthropomorphic into all of creation. So you got two C's there, chaos, consciousness, and the other is connection. We are all connected, and there's no way from now on that you and I can be disconnected, okay? No matter where we go, some of my molecules are within you, and some of your neutrinos are within me, and we carry within each of us the vision, the dreams, the energy, the possibility, the transformational vision forward. And so wherever we are, we remain one. Thank you for this possibility. Thank you for your presence now in my life, and I will never forget this moment. Thank you.